Welcome back to All the Cars I've Loved Before, your authoritative podcast on automotive nostalgia, where our guests are unique. Each auto has an era, and every car tells a story. So indeed you know the time. It's time to plug in, get a little grease under the nails, fingernails, toenails, whatever your nails, and slip on that favorite car-themed t-shirt, hat, or jacket. How you doing, partner? What's going on up there in the mid-Atlantic?
Not too much. Feels like summer, getting there, 80 degrees.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
Yeah, the Florida Panhandle. Summer is about to come with a huge cudgel over the head with humidity and warmth.
Yep.
Speaking of, I was just going to welcome back listeners all over the world. God, we love looking at the reporting and analytics. Welcome back to people in countries such as Israel, Finland, specifically. All right, let's see if I don't butcher this. Turku in southwest Finland. Welcome back. We had 3 return listeners, we should say, from your state of New Jersey, Doug. Northfield, Egg Harbor, and Tuckerton. Have you heard of those 3? I know you lived in Jersey for a while.
I wonder if my friend Tim, who was, I think he was our second.
I remember
episode. He lives in Minnesota, but he has family in New Jersey. He's from New Jersey. He might be, and I know he's in New Jersey now. It might be him. Yeah,
I love seeing listeners pop up where I can triangulate and have a good idea of who that is. Welcome back to listeners north of the border in Ontario, St. Catherine, and in Quebec, Montreal. Gulf Breeze, Florida, where I'm located. Who's listening? Probably my kids. Navarre, welcome. And back up north, Syracuse, New York, welcome. Great to have you back. I had one question here before we get into the show. Did you see anything interesting on the road today, Doug?
Well, not
anything,
today,
or this
not
week
today, but over the last couple days, and they're popping up more and more. The Volkswagen ID Buzz.
Yep. I saw one too. Really sharp looking.
Yep.
Love the. I think it was white over yellow, something like that.
Yeah, I think they're all two-tone. I mean, Volkswagen is brilliant at the nostalgia, right? For
design.
Yeah. The new Beetle, right? For example, which sold like hotcakes initially. This is different, right? Because it's electric. I think it doesn't have the range, right? I think it's hopefully more. It's probably more of a fad car than anything.
We shall see.
And like everything, you'll see somebody who bought one and then they'll be selling it quickly. Just like a small sports car, like a Miata, right? They've got it. They're like, I don't really use it that much. Oh, it's too loud. In this case, maybe the range, certainly availability of charging is something to get used to when you have an electric car.
Yeah, perfect segue, because I was thinking, I was going to ask you this. When you look for cars, where do you look? Do you go, it used to be the classifieds, used to be, or you drive by the lot, but there's so many ways to get that content today. Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. How do you, if you're looking for a car for the kids yourself, where do you go? What do you do?
Yeah, I would say Facebook Marketplace, and then there is a Facebook forum for every car enthusiast, manufacturer. Like, I recently got on the Miata one, probably because of a couple of our past guests, John from Mazda, as well as Nigel. And now I just see Miatas popping up left and right. And then, of course, they're popping up on Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, what do I do?
Big brother eavesdropping. Yeah, we were in one of my cars. My son said, he was asking, I can't remember, he was asking me something about, what do you do this problem or that problem? And I told him about the many online communities, just online. You go to this website.org and it's just a discussion board. Any question you have, you can just search up there and see what other people have come up with. So
you can become a YouTube certified mechanic.
We've had several, still waiting for my plaque, my certificate to come in the mail, but all looking forward to that. So carslove.com, reach out to us. Christian at carslove.com, Doug at carslove.com. And so what's been happening with the website? I know the carousel continues to fill up. And for those not in the know, not in the know, carslove.com/photos. So send us photos of your automobiles. If you had those interesting first ones, you and your family, because this show it's about family, if it's at all about cars. So I have some snapshots to send you of my first. So are you still getting them? How's that working?
Yeah. I'm between Car Spotting and then some of our guests who've been able to maintain their pictures, right? They still have it. Maybe they still own the car if it's some of our guests. And, we should also mention, because our guest mentioned it, we have an events page. I would love for the events page to be maybe someday us going to an event, but
there you go.
Our events page is typically who we're going to be interviewing on what day and an approximate time.
Dig it. Good stuff. Good stuff.
So it's fun to do. It's nice to hear that people actually look at it. So makes for a good time.
Good work.
So / events.
Yep. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears goes into the website. Doug's always busy. So, hey, thank you for that. And now I'm going to toss it over to you and ask you, how did today's guest, very excited about today's guest, by the by, how did he find his way into your virtual garage?
Yeah. As you've been hearing more and more, just due to the podcast getting out there and people hearing about it, through his PR rep, they found us on Quoted, QWOTED.com, and reached out, and we've actually gotten some fantastic guests, and our guest today is not going to disappoint.
None more fantasticer than Adam with the Xtreme Xperience. Adam, how are you this afternoon?
I'm fantasticer, apparently. I'm doing good, boys. Good to see you.
You're the best. You're the best. Yeah, so tell us a little bit what you do. You have a company called the Xtreme Xperience. Tell us a little bit about it, and then what got you into that enterprise.
Well, I suppose that I'm here simply to fulfill Doug's need of putting an event on the events page, and I happen to know a guy.
We all?
I'm a selfless guy. Could I find a way to host 50 to 60 automotive themed events nationwide and make sure that people had stuff to do? And that's what we do. But long story, really, really short, almost 15 years ago, I was in the luxury concierge business, helping connect people with rentals of fancy cars and boats and things like that. But man, oh man, everyone called and said, I just want a cool Xtreme Xperience. Can you be the guy to help put that together for me? And I said, who would I be to say no? And so I did. And 15 years later, and hundreds of thousands of drivers later, here we are.
Hi, this is Christian with To All the Cars I've Loved Before, your authoritative podcast on automotive nostalgia. Hey, have you ever thought to yourself, I love this show so much, I wish it would come out weekly instead of bi-weekly? Well, guess what? You asked, we answered. Henceforth, that means from now on, you're going to get a piping hot new episode of To All the Cars I've Loved Before, weekly instead of bi-weekly. How do you like that? We will see you on your mobile telephone streaming device of choice weekly from now on. Yeah, and if you want to put a smile on your face, everybody, if the nearest device, plop in the xtremexperience.com, the xtremexperience.com, where you can rent set one of many. It looks like it's a dozen or two supercars. It's this whole tour, as Adam was saying, that kind of goes around the country, and you can drive these cars on a racetrack. So what was you told us about the aha moment that led to that. Was it hard to put together a fleet of supercars? That's such a maniac sentence. But how long did it take you from inception to making that happen? And did you always know that you were going to be co-located, kind of making this happen on a track, on a real deal racetrack?
It happened really fast. I was no different growing up than most car guys and girls. I had the poster on my wall. I was in the back seat of my parents' car. I was spinning around to see what just drove past us. Didn't matter if it was a Saab or a Honda Odyssey or a Ferrari 360, whatever it was, I was noticing it. But, then I grew up and I got distracted. I went to college and I did other things. And ultimately, after college, a few years later, I just happened upon the car business and it reignited this excitement. But by that time, I was a lifestyle guy who met the car industry. And so I figured, I wasn't a race car driver. I wasn't wrenching on the cars myself, but instead, how could I provide this lifestyle that I wanted to experience? And then how could I share it with other people? And so in less than a year and a half, I went from working for this concierge company to listening to our customers who really wanted to experience automobiles to putting together our first racetrack driving experience. And no, Christian, I didn't own a single one of these cars. I knocked on the doors of every car dealership, every owner of a supercar in Chicago. And I said, I need to borrow your car. I'm putting this cool thing together. And I got enough people to allow me to borrow their cars. And we hosted our first event.
Lovely. Now, what was the first one like? What was the first one that you put together? Was it a comedy of errors? Was it a Swiss watch from the word go?
No, I mean, a comedy would probably still be giving it some credit. I had no, I had no experience. I did not put two moments of thought into the fact that we should probably have helmets on. We should probably have walkie-talkies in the car. We just put people in supercars and we said, go that way. We'll see you when you come back around. And most people never made it all the way back around. They spun themselves off. They ended up in the sand. It was what it was. It was a comedy of learning, I suppose. And we learned really quickly because hurting people is definitely not in my vocabulary. But, we learned it was an industry that realistically did not exist. And so we were creating our industry one driver at a time. And quite honestly, I still take that outlook today, which is what keeps us growing.
For sure. And the enthusiasm must have been there from the word go with the people that showed up. And so how did you get the word of mouth out? Was there buzz very quickly? Because like you say, it's a super exciting thing. Great gift to give. So what was that? Yeah.
Yeah, we used local Chicago channels in the beginning. Groupon was big here and getting started in Chicago, right down the street when we founded this. We jumped on the internet and you could start buying Facebook ads. 15 years ago, this stuff was kind of in an infancy stage. So we leveraged all of these new digital technologies to say, hey, you want to test drive a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a Porsche, whatever it was. $150. That's all we charged in the beginning. So you got to imagine coming from a world where I was initially marketing the rental of a Ferrari for $2,000 a day, minimum of 3 days. I excluded 99.9% of the population. Absolutely. But for $100, oh man, our first day, thousands of people showed up. And that was the light bulb moment right then and there. I was like, I don't know if $150 is enough to maintain a supercar and do advertising, run a company and still make money, but that's okay. I have enough people here where if I figure this out, I've got a business and we figured it out.
Yeah. The listener's going to ask, okay, where is this? How do I find out when they're coming to me? Well, it's a sort of a circus where they just load up the trucks and they go to the next city. Three of them, you have three working in parallel that can go all the way around the country: West, Midwest, South, Northeast. So whether you're in Phoenix, Arizona, Denver, Colorado, Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, New Orleans is the closest one to me, but they've already done that this year. Okay. South, Northeast, New Jersey. Okay. Let's see. What have up here? New York City, Philly, Michigan. So it truly comes all the way around the country. I got to ask, what is the most popular car that is rented, or what is the one that really seems to move people the most?
Ooh, that's a good question because it might be different answer. I think the most popular car and you hit it on the head. This is a fantastic gift. This is a bucket list experience. So a lot of people sign up for the Italian prima donnas. Once they check the Ferrari and Lamborghini off, which obviously tie for number one, the Ferrari may edge out the Lamborghini just a little bit. They release new models, they get a little bit more press. So Ferrari 1, Lamborghini 2, then there's a big gap to numbers 3, 4, and 5. But the car that moves people the most when they get out of it, and I'll take my hat off to them right now, is the new C8. Man, people get out of that car and they are blown away. We generally ran a Corvette generation in our fleet for a year or two before they said, well, my neighbor's got one now, the C7, the C6, so I don't need this car. We put the C8 in our fleet. It lasted 5 years, and we only switched it because the Z06 came out, and we said, well, if you guys have been driving that for 5 years, you deserve to drive this. But that car, hands down, is people's favorite car.
And that was going to be my guess. I was holding out because, that car for the money, right? You can't beat it.
No, it's mind-boggling. And now with the ZR Run, that's getting all the press, what they just released a couple of days ago. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So with these cars, and I know Doug wants to hop in here. Is it hard to keep a fleet of cars like these running? Because being run they're being handled a lot, okay, by people that aren't used to handling them. These are temperamental cars to begin with. Is it hard to keep them mechanically sound? You have people that sort of travel with the show. You have people on contract when you go. If it's a trade secret, we can move on to the next question.
Here's the trade secret. Everything that's mechanical can and will break. And so it's just a matter of how often it breaks and how prepared we are. In the beginning, we traveled with a pickup truck, a few wrenches, and a spare tire, hoping that we could MacGyver that situation. But 15 years later, I've got 20 mechanics, I've got 2 semi trucks, and they travel with the tour everywhere they go. And we're doing a fantastic amount of work on these cars in pit lane, just like a race team, to keep them going and to keep you safe.
Top notch. Love that answer. What do you think, Doug? Are we ready to go back in time, or do you want to still throw out some questions about this incredible business, the Xtreme Xperience?
So many questions. I did want to ask, so 13 years later, I think I have that right.
Yep.
Do you have some numbers, metrics on how many smiles, how many cars you've gone through? Just curious if you could share that with us and the listeners.
That is a good question. We'll start with the smiles because that was really important to us.
Yes.
Because just like myself, I'm our ideal customer. And so smile number 1 was the first time I ever saw a Lamborghini pull up in, I was in Chicago and it came over a bridge and it was theatrical. And this is awesome, number 1. So now in our warehouse, we actually raise a banner every single year with the number of people that rode or drove in a supercar thanks to the Xtreme Xperience, because we're really proud of the fact that we're changing lives. And we started our first year in 2012 with 8,000 people driving supercars, enough to create a business.
Yeah.
Last year, 88,000 people drove supercars because of Xtreme Xperience or rode in supercars. And so if you combine all those up over the last 13 years, the number is just shy of 500,000 people have been in supercars thanks to what we do. Now, how many supercars did that take? Well, we've got about 70 cars in our fleet today, between ride-along cars, driver cars, and as you so astutely mentioned, cars that are on a lift somewhere getting some type of repair done. So that's what it takes to keep the program running. As far as how many we've gone through in the past, I wish I had a more accurate answer, but I know that we flip about 20-25% of the fleet per year. So at one point, I did the VinWiki show with Ed Bully, and he asked a similar question. I think back then it was 200. So, man, oh man, I bet we're well over 350 supercars that I've owned, that I've loved in my day.
Yeah. Wow.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well,
Lots
I think
of
we have to climb in the way back. We have to climb in the way back, go 88 miles per hour. And let's go back to the beginning. And when we talk about Adam's first car, great answer he's had. We've never had this answer before. And he says, we always ask people, well, what was your first car? And Adam says, well, it feels like he's had 3 experience or births of this experience. And Adam, what did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, there was the first car when you're 15, 16 years old. The first time that I ever made tires squeal, because you just got to feel that, right? They always say that the racing was invented the moment the second car came off the production line. And that's kind of how you feel as a teenager. So, you've got to get that out of your system. Like, I am now in control. So there was that first car. There, of course, was the first car that I bought with my own money. And then there was my first supercar, which really opened up this whole new chapter. But each of those, cars come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And so they each had their own reason and their own season. That's how I had to answer the question.
Good deal. I have to write that down. The reason, season, or a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah. It's making me reevaluate my first cars as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. There's the first one you touched, the first you bought with your own money. So let's see, the Pontiac Grand Prix, the Jetta, and then the supercars he has right now. What do you think, Doug? Where do we go with those answers?
Yeah. Well, let's start with the Grand Prix. And as we talked in the pre-show, I think my dad owned one of those when I was probably in my early 20s. And Christian, I think I took you for a crazy ride in it. It was a pretty cool car for the time when it first came out. But Adam, what do you remember about that car?
I remember I've always been big on the aesthetic. That to me was something that mattered. And so it was white. It was a 95 Grand Prix. I'll never forget the tail lights. They kind of had that waffle pattern tail lights with the string of lights.
Perfect way to put it. Yes.
Right. It went across the trunk, and then in the front they had the slim headlights, and it just kind of felt like a race car, and it felt sporty. At the time, I wasn't familiar with the composition of the car, the plastic versus the steel. We weren't doing aluminum and stuff, and carbon fiber was a long, long dream away. But, a Pontiac felt racy. It felt sporty. And when I was driving that car, I felt like people were looking at me. I will say this so that I don't forget to say it. Mm-hmm. I think it's important that no matter what your car is, whether it's your first car that you touched, your first car that you bought, or the car that you aspire to own one day, it should always be a car that when you get out of it, you turn around and look at it one more time, just because you want to see your car. And I'm 40 now. And so for the last 25, 26 years, I've been turning around looking at my car. And so I guess I'll give my dad a little credit for he chose the Pontiac Grand Prix. I didn't get to choose that one. That's what he gave me to drive, and ultimately it became mine in college. So that a lot of good memories about how you learn to feel about a car that way.
Yeah, love that. Yep, and that translates well into your day job, right? Just the feeling of the cars, right? And you're seeing you're seeing the smiles of your customers, right? And that just all ties it back together, right? From your first smile of that car.
Yeah. It's also kind of a good life lesson for the people in your life, anything that you own. Does this thing make you happy? Does it lighten your soul? Or for some reason, any reason, does it bring you dread, hassle, or do you have some sort of negative association with it? You're not living someone else's dream in your life. You have to optimize your own best life. I don't know. It's just random thought, but something you just said really, really struck me, Adam. Good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'll never forget my mom telling me how I think she had a Thunderbird in college, and then she got married, had kids, sold the car, and was driving a minivan when I learned all of this. And I said, Mom, going back to what you just said, Christian, do you have regrets about that? Why don't you have a sports car? And I think that's probably when she went and bought that Audi A6.
There you
go. I created this lifestyle where I never want to feel regret about passing something up. Life is a journey, and you spend a lot of time in your car, so you better maximize that journey.
Agreed. And take advantage of the car being able to do what you can do with what it's capable of on a safe track, right? Safe environment.
Well, yes. I have hyperbolized that example for sure. But daily driving, some people say a car just gets you from A to B, and I say, no, it does more than that.
Yep. Agreed. And,
or on a racetrack like you do, the car gets you from A to A because you end up back at the same point all the time. Good stuff.
That almost seems crazy, but it's worth it.
Yep. And there's definitely a let's see, we had is it Nigel Tunnicliffe from he does a coastline driving academy out west, so teaching young drivers how to drive, and really great guy, but like just how important that is, and respecting the power of a vehicle, right, and what it's capable of. The one negative I see of the C8 is because it's so affordable and so available, people get it and they shouldn't be on the road in that car, or they should get some track experience and learn what the car is capable of beforehand.
Yeah, no argument there. And there's plenty of great schools out there, right? Learn to drive programs. And a lot of times when you buy the Mustang or the Corvette, they'll gear you towards something.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, this Corvette, just going back to it again, I got pro drivers who try to turn it loose, who try to get themselves in trouble. And man, the engineers are nailing it because that car continues to save us day in and day out. But either way, that's no excuse to go learn how to drive.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, and it's a great endorsement for that car. So, so you moved on. Your second birth of your car was the first car you purchased on your own. Can you tell us about that?
This was inspired by my mom. Fine, and getting back to that. So when we send this out to the world, she'll be happy to listen to it. And she got that '01 Audi A6, and I got behind the wheel of that. And then you had a little luxury, plus you had the power, plus you had the engineering, and that's when I felt the car. This is what you should drive. This is how you should feel when you drive. And so it was a foregone conclusion that when I finally graduated from school and had some money, I bought the Jetta. I bought the little brother, little sister of the Audi. And I got a place in Chicago, and I just ripped that thing around, and I took full advantage of it. Nice. And at the time, that's before I even got into the supercar business, obviously. And so I didn't know as much about the motor and the power and the displacement and all that. I was just, do I feel it or do I not feel it? It was a gut feeling. And that car gave me that gut feeling. And so my friends still give me grief today about the Wolfsburger, because I still talk about it, because it was, and who knows where I'd be today if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, how that ladder would have looked from Wolfsburger to what. But that was the one and only car that I bought until, the shipment, until it got crazy.
Yeah. So, and in that, your first supercar or supercars post the Wolfsburger, what were they?
Well, and so after I transitioned from there, I got into the rental business, and we had an '08 Lamborghini Gallardo. We had an '07 straight piped F430 coupe. And we had a Bentley with the W12, that Continental GTC. So suddenly I was driving these cars, and I was like, holy smokes, this is crazy. This is a different world. And that's really what changed my life. Although the first supercar that we ever bought as Xtreme Xperience, I believe, was a 996 911 turbo. I think that was the first one we ever bought and put into our fleet. So, but either way, those 3-4 cars really kind of brought me into the world of ultra high performance. And I have a lot of fond memories stealing those out of the warehouse and creating young teenage memories, or not teenage, but early 20 memories.
Yeah,
in those supercars.
Yeah, it makes me. And you mentioned 996. I just keep thinking of the beginning of Gone in 60 Seconds, the reboot movie, where he goes in and he smashes a window. That's not what you're doing, because it's your warehouse. No. But he steals that brand new 996 out and just goes flying.
Yeah, we have back in the day, we have plenty of memories. Before I could afford car haulers and everything, we had to get these supercars places. And so like crazy 20-something-year-olds, we drove them. And so you would just see this line on the highway of 430s and 911s and Gallardos and Audi R8s and Nissan GTRs. We survived, which is the most important part. But man, that's as good as it gets, just having that. And doing it with your friends was such a cool feeling too. Driving a car is great, but sharing that, looking over to your side, your left and your right, and seeing other people driving these cars, and then people looking at you, it's a whole thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, and we didn't talk about this in the pre-show, but I like what you answered. When you think about music, what do you like to listen to? And is there a song? Is there a band that you like that kind of defines you and your role?
I don't know that. I don't know that I have a moment that defines why I chose this band or this song. But I know that the answer is and always will be AC/DC, because it's just something about the way that they play their music, and especially their song For Those About to Rock. Because you sit down in a Ferrari or any super, you click your buckle on and you turn it up, and For Those About to Rock, and then you rock. And that's always been my supercar music.
Yeah, no. And the reason I like it, slightly different time, but the gentleman we had on, one of two gentlemen we had on earlier this week before you, Tim Kearns, we talked about this in the pre-show, his dad invented the intermittent windshield wiper. So we asked him what his favorite song was, and he was like, Steppenwolf, Born to Be Wild. And he had a 1971 Mustang Mach 1, and man, what a perfect song for that car. Just AC/DC as well.
Yeah. And then the oil embargo crisis of the 70s happened, and he switched from that to the Pinto, and they probably played the Carpenters. That might have been his go-to there. But anyway, yeah, back to you.
Yeah. So I'm sure everybody wants to know what the founder of Xtreme Xperience drives. Can you tell us about that? What your daily driver is?
Oh, it's a supercar, of course.
Yeah, with his children. He's a dad, right? Why not?
That was the slippery slope. I think that once I got into the business, there was a certain threshold of car that I was never gonna be below.
No minivans, no Honda Odyssey.
Oh, so it's a lot of pressure for a guy like you, isn't it? Yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh, I think he owns all these cars. What's he gonna pull up in now?
I know, right? Now the good part, for me, or the excuse I should say, is that I live in the city of Chicago. And so there is really no way to drive a supercar down here, whether it's traffic or whether it's potholes or whether it's seasons. Believe me, I've tried, and I've done plenty of pushing a supercar the 8 feet back to my garage because I thought it would be a good idea, but just a little bit of snow made it a bad idea. So unfortunately, owning a supercar is just not a thing outside of what we do for work. So I've always been a truck guy. Well, I've gotten in trouble for calling them trucks and SUV guys. So Land Rovers and Mercedes Benz have always been my brand. I love the AMG. And so today I drive, and it's in color, uniform. I drive a burnt Magno copper Mercedes G63. And so it's the Xtreme Xperience wagon, and you can see it coming.
Yeah, love it. So that's sorry, Christian, for those who don't know, right? That's the I'm going to get the pronunciation wrong. That's the old Gallardo wagon. I'm saying it wrong. That they didn't have in the States till what, 90s, early 2000s, but people were always importing them, and now they've just become this ultra luxury, ultra fast, comfortable, but very capable SUV.
Yeah, that's why I called it a wagon. I think mine has 571 horsepower. I think it's right in that neighborhood somewhere. And I got now the 580 just came out this year, and it's an electric car, and so the jury's out on that one. But
I saw that.
I'm still driving that 8-cylinder that burns about 3 gallons of gas a minute and sounds like a boat, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, twin turbo at that.
Twin turbo
V8. Yeah,
gotta have it. Well, at this point in the show, we typically ask our guests what their dream cars are, and I don't know if that makes sense because every dream car you've ever had, I think you've owned and sold.
That's the problem, right? You
need new dreams or someone else's dreams. What are we going to do here?
Yeah. It is a tough question, but it is the number one question, of course, that I get asked. I go to the racetrack, I start talking to my customers, and the first question they ask me, not really, they do like to know what I drive, but they want to know what my favorite supercar is of all times, because they're comparing it to something, a memory they have, a model they built, a poster on their wall. And my answer really still remains the same, although it's being challenged. For almost 15 years, I've been answering that it's been the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG Black Series. If I could snap my fingers and put an SLS Black Series in the garage, yellow, black, that would be the car that I would choose. The only thing that I think I would hesitate and consider These new 911 GT3 RSs or the GT2s, man, Porsche is just knocking it out of the park, and these things are animals. And so that would be something new that I've never, or we throw all that out the window and we go get a Countach and we just call it a day, because that's the poster I actually had on my wall as a kid.
I did too. Didn't we all? Didn't we all?
What was it? Justification for higher education, right?
Oh yeah. That was one of the, that was like the first meme of all time, was the old Lamborghini poster, like hanging on the wall.
Good call.
But,
to tie it to the current days.
Indeed. So yeah, Adam, as we guide the podcast gently to the off-ramp, one last question for you on the way out here is, I just got to tell, maybe it's more of a statement. I can't wait to show up at the Xtreme Xperience and drive all these fantastic cars while wearing my, I live in Florida, and all we really wear for footwear, even in the dead of winter, is flip-flops. So I cannot wait to show up and wear my flip-flops while having your cars fly around the track. That's not a problem, is it?
We have a whole rack of shoes for people just like you.
Yeah. No, rack of flip-flops, right? You got a rack of flip-flops for me.
We'll call them closed-toed flip-flops for you.
Just for you.
Just for you. For those, there's 47 lower states plus Florida, and so we're fine. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right. And so what I'm putting, and I tend to have tall friends. I don't know why. I have some friends that are not so tall. So my 6'2", 6'4", 6'5" friend, can they fit in these cars? They can fit in these cars, right? If you go on the website, there's actually sort of a height guide for the different cars you have. And I think that is just ingenious. You got to check out this site, the xtremexperience.com/how-it-works. So much great information, really rich FAQ section. And they'll just tell you, hey, you can, if you're 5'2", we'll be fine. The helmet that we put on you is 2 inches. You'll fit in perfectly. So you've got an answer for everything, Adam, and I think it's fantastic.
Well, we've been having fun for a long enough time that I think we've just about figured it out, but then I always learn something new. So I'll never guarantee I know it all, but we're enjoying the process. And if you got to learn by driving supercars around racetracks, sign me up.
Exactly. Yeah. And
me too.
Would tell our listenership, check out thextremexperience.com. Of course, it's going to be in the show notes. And hey, Adam, thank you for taking time today. It was an extreme pleasure meeting you. We had a blast. Come back anytime.
Yeah, I would be happy to. And I expect you guys to meet me at the racetrack, and we'll do this again.
Next time you're in New Orleans, I will show up with my flip-flops. You have...
Okay.
He rolls his eyes, but gave me a thumbs up. What does that mean? You have just heard the high-revving, low-mileage, late-model herd round the world authoritative podcast on automotive nostalgia. He is Doug. Reach me at Doug@carslove.com. I'm Christian. Reach me at Christian@carslove.com. And he was Adam with the Xtreme Xperience, the xtremexperience.com. Check him out. If you like our podcast, please follow and tell a friend. carsloved.com, carsloved.com. Also check out our link tree, which is
linktr.ee/carsloved.
There you go. I'm sure we'll see you at the next local car show, showroom, race strip, or concours. We appreciate you taking a lap with us, and we'll see you next time.